Good day, everyone. This is Engineer Melissa, your instructor in CE 154, and today I will be discussing the Chapter 7, which is the design of members for shear. Okay, so yung outline ng ating topic for today is mag-start tayo sa introduction. So dito sa introduction, we will be refreshing our knowledge in the shear stresses, on the shear forces, okay? Kung ano yung napag-aralan natin during the Mechanics 104, i-apply natin ngayon dito sa chapter na to. And then, of course, the general provisions. So, yung Section 507 of your NSCP is solely for design of members for shear. Okay? And then, what are the tension field action? What are the meanings of Stephen and Stephen webs? Okay? And then single angles, rectangular HSS, and so on. And then as we go on to our examples, malalaman natin kung ano yung mga ibig sabihin ng mga to or what are the applications of these terminologies, no? And then we also have here 9 examples. Okay? So yung examples naman natin is hindi naman ganun kahaba. Kagaya nung nasa compression tayo and flexure. Maikli lang yung mga topic dito or yung mga examples natin dito, no? Okay. So our objective for today is you will be able to identify the shear forces and then the shear stresses imposed to structural members. So review na lang yung gagawin natin dito because we already have the discussion during your Mechanics 104. And then identify the difference between the strong and weak axis, differentiate doubly and singly symmetric shapes, and of course, we will design and analyze structural members for shear. And then calculate the shear strength of different structural shapes. Okay, so let's start. So this section addresses webs of singly or doubly symmetric members subject to shear in the plane of the web. Single angles and HSS subject to shear and shear in the weak direction of singly or doubly symmetric shapes. So these are the different scenarios na may encounter natin during our examples. We will be focusing on the webs for I-beams, for doubly singly symmetric members, and then pag single angles naman and HSS, iba din yung magiging parang atake natin dito. But of course, lahat naman ng yun is with the provision specified or that can be found in Section 507 of our NSCP. So meron din tayong mga guiding principles, guiding specifications, just like the other topics. So ang gagawin natin is just to follow kung ano yung mga nasa NSCP natin, particularly on the Section 507 on how we address the shear or the shearing forces or the shearing stresses of the members. And then next, the applied loading on beam results in a shear force V on the beam, provided that the stresses produced in the beam are within the elastic limit. The shear stress produced at a specific level in the cross-section of a member is given by the expression to be discussed later on. Okay, so unahin ko muna to yung statement number 1. The applied loading on the beam results in a shear force V on the beam. Okay, so kung naaalala nyo pa during our Mechanics 104, di ba kinukuha natin yung shear forces of a specific structural element. So yung pagkuha ng shear forces, we have two ways. Of course, yung pinaka-common is by drawing the shear diagram. And then the other way is by having the sections, right? So pag kinukuha natin yung shear force on a specific location of our beam, ang ginagawa natin dyan is we draw the shear diagram or yung ating method of sections, right? So for example, dito meron tayong beam simply supported and then loaded with a uniformly distributed load. So ang ginagawa natin dito, diba, is kinukuha natin yung reactions, tapos dinodrawing natin yung shear diagram. Tapos nakukuha natin yung mga shearing forces on the specific area or specific location. Or, pwede din naman na gamit tayo ng method of sections. So, sa method of section, di ba, pag kinat natin yung isang beam, okay, so ito yung reaction. This is the intensity. So, di ba pag nag-cut tayo, meron tayong nakikita dito, shear force. Makakompute din natin dito yung specific shearing force kung saan tayo nag-cut, which is usually dinodenote natin siya as V or our shear force B. So, yung shear force V natin is nakadepende dun sa naka-apply na load. Okay? And then, yung ating stress can be computed by this formula on which the shearing stress or the shear stress is equal to VQ all over IB. This is also introduced, or this was already introduced during year mechanics 104, on which V is the shearing force, Q is the statical moment of area, divided by the moment of inertia of the section, multiplied by the width. Okay. So ito yung pinaka-general formula natin for our shearing stress. FV is equal to VQ all over IB. Okay. So, ang ginagawa natin dito, first is to identify what is the shearing force. So, paano natin kinocompute yung shear force? Of course, by having the shear diagram or the method of section. Okay. And then next, yung Q natin, the statical moment of area is just Q is equal to A multiplied by the distance of, okay, let's say for example, ito yung section natin, ito yung neutral axis, nakalocate na yung neutral axis. So, ang kinukuha natin dyan is, we are identifying a specific area. Let's say, for example, this one, the area above the neutral axis. So, i-determine natin yung area multiplied by Y. So, yung Y na yan is just the distance of the centroid ng shaded area papunta dun sa neutral axis. Okay? White pala. Papunta dun sa neutral axis. That's why we have our formula for statical moment of area multiplied by Y. Basta yung Y na to is the distance from the centroid of the shaded area papunta sa neutral axis. Okay. Then D, distance of the topmost fiber from the neutral axis, distance of the centroid of the shaded area from the neutral axis, moment of inertia, and the width of the section at the level considered. Okay, so again, this is the general formula for the shearing stress. And if you are still familiar, meron din tayo for rectangular. We have 3 all over 2 multiplied by the shear force divided by area. This formula is derived din dito sa VQ all over IB. But this one is for rectangular sections only. Okay. So, balik tayo dito sa formula natin na VQ all over IB. So, saan nanggaling yan? It came from the concept on which, okay, dito na lang ako mag-drawing. Okay. So, for example, di ba yung ating rectangle, sige, rectangular section muna since ito naman yung pinaka-common or usual for examples natin or for derivation of formulas, rectangle most of the time yung ginagamit natin. Okay, so this is the neutral axis. So, if we draw the stress diagram, pag nasa shear tayo, pag nasa shear, it looks like this. Diba? Balikan yung Mechanics 104. Meron tayong topic nito for the shearing stress. So, the shearing stress of a rectangular section dun sa topmost fiber is maliit lang, minimal lang. And then, as we go on to the neutral axis, papalaki ng papalaki yung stress. Okay. So, ibig sabihin yung shearing stress natin is usually maximum pag nasa neutral axis tayo. Okay. So, ito yung ating stress diagram na for the shear. Stress diagram. So, yung stress distribution natin dito again, from the outermost fiber, maliit lang, minimal lang. Tapos, as we go on to the neutral axis, papalaki ng papalaki yung ating stress. So, what about if meron tayong I-beam? So, pag I-beam naman, okay. So, pag I-beam, pag drawing natin yung kanyang stress diagram or the stress distribution, maliit lang yung nasa flange. Maliit lang yung stress or the shearing stress on the flange. And then as we go on to the web, papalaki na lang papalaki yung stress natin. Nandito yung neutral axis niya. Ayan, NA. So, ito naman yung stress distribution for our I-beam. Again, dito sa flange niya, minimal lang yung kina-counteract niyang stress or the shearing stress on the flanges. Kasi ang kina-counteract ng ating flange is the flexure or yung bending natin. And then yung ating web, majority of the shearing stress is nandito sa web natin or kina-counteract ng web natin yung shearing stress. Again, dito sa flange, maliit lang or minimal lang yung shearing stress niya kasi ang kina-counteract or nag-govern dito sa ating flange is the bending or the flexure. Kaya maliit lang yan. And then, as we go on sa neutral axis or sa web, mas lumalaki na ng lumalaki yung ating shearing stress. Kasi yung ating web, sila naman yung nag-govern or nagka-counteract ng majority of the shearing stresses. So, that's why ganito yung naging itsura ng stress diagram. Minimal dito, tapos nagiging malaki yung stress as we go on to the neutral axis. Therefore, the maximum shearing stress now occurs on the neutral axis. Okay, so nandito yung maximum shearing stress niya occurs at the neutral axis. Unlike dun sa flexure natin or sa bending, diba ganito yung kanyang stress diagram. Dun sa neutral axis, the stress is equal to 0. Pero dito sa shearing stress, nandito yung maximum. Okay, so magkabaliktad sila. So, diba? Kung mapapansin nyo dito, maximum yung nandito sa flange pag sa bending or sa flexure. Kasi nga, yun yung majority na kina-counteract ng ating flange, yung bending or yung flexure. Tapos dito naman sa shearing stresses, ang nagka-counteract majority of the shearing stress is the web. Okay? So the flange carry very small shear capacity while the majority of the shear capacity is carried by the web. That's why kung kukunin natin yung tinatawag nating nandito yun. Di na ilagay yung average shearing stress. Okay, so pag drawing natin yung average shearing stress, parang nagiging rectangular din siya eh. Okay. Pag kukunin natin yung average shearing stress, okay. Ganito naman yung magiging illustration natin for the stress diagram. This is now the average shearing stress. Average shearing stress on which it is now equal to V divided by the area of the web. Itong formula na to. So, FV is equal to V all over the area of the web. Okay. But here, ang i-consider natin na area of the web is the depth multiplied by the thickness of the web. So, depth multiplied by the thickness of the web. So, ibig sabihin natin sa depth, ito yun. Ito yung i-consider natin, depth. Tapos, yung thickness of the web. Okay. Ma'am, area of the web lang naman yung i-consider. Bakit natin i-consider yung overall depth? Bakit kailangan pa natin i-consider yung flange? Ang sabi dito, area of the web. Because we are on the average. Shearing average yung kinukuha natin dito. So, kailangan pa rin natin i-consider kung ano man yung meron dito sa flange. Kung ano yung stress na nandito sa flange. Kaya imbis na H, di ba H yung ginagamit natin dito sa web. Pag meron tayong saan na yan? Diba, if we are talking about the web, ang kino-consider natin dyan is the H, or sa AISC natin, it is the T. Pero dito, ang i-consider natin is the depth of the whole section, because we are talking about the average. Okay? We are talking about the average. Even if small lang stress nandito sa flange, i-consider pa rin natin kasi nga, we are talking about the average. Therefore, in having the average shear stress, we will be using V all over the area of the web, on which the area of the web is equal to the depth of the section multiplied by the thickness of the web. Okay? Yan. So, dito nanggaling yung ating formula for the shear stress. So later on, makaka-encounter tayo ng mga terminologies just like transverse stiffeners, tension field action, pero di-discuss natin yan mamaya. Okay? That's why meron akong mga illustration dito. Okay, so puntahan naman natin ngayon yung, bago tayo mag-proceed sa examples natin, let's open our NSCP and proceed to section 507 for the provisions and specifications for the design of members for shear. Okay? So, discuss lang natin saglit. So, for our general provisions, two methods of calculating shear strength are presented below. The method presented in section 507.2 does not utilize the post-buckling strength of the member or the tension field action, while the method presented in 507.3 utilizes what we call the tension field action. So the design shear strength, okay, is equal to phi v Vn, and the allowable shear strength is equal to Vn divided by the omega V. So ito yung gagamitin natin for the LRFD, the design shear strength, phi v Vn, and then sa ASD, we will be using Vn divided by the omega, on which yung ating phi, again, is equal to 0.9, and then the omega is, or the safety factor is equal to 1.67 for ASD. Okay? So, dalawa yung magiging computations natin dito, or dalawa yung sections natin dito sa 507. We have the members with unstiffened or stiffened webs, and then for 507.3, dito naman natin makikita yung tinatawag nating tension field action. Okay, so ano yung tinatawag natin na unstiffened and stiffened elements, and then yung transverse stiffeners tsaka tension field action. Okay, so we have here a I-beam. Okay, tapos meron tayong mga transverse stiffeners na tinatawag. So yung transverse stiffeners na to are plates na nilalagay natin sa I-beam. Kung mapapansin nyo itong drawing natin, ito yung I-beam, ito yung flange niya, tapos ito yung web. Okay, tapos meron tayong mga nilagay, may nakalagay dito na mga transverse stiffeners, this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So, bakit tayo naglalagay ng transverse stiffeners? So, yung mga transverse stiffeners, nagpro-provide tayo niyan kung yung web natin, this is the web, kung yung web natin is manipis or masyadong matangkad, because if our web are too thin and then yung depth niya is matangkad, it is very prone to buckling or nagbabakin yung ating web. That's why nagpro-provide tayo ng mga tinatawag nating stiffeners that acts parallel to our web. Stiffeners that are made up of plate, steel plate. Okay. So for this one, ang nagkikerry ng ating shear stress, as I have discussed a while ago, majority nun is kinikerry ng web natin. So pag masyadong manipis or masyadong matangkad yung web natin, it will not be able to resist yung shear na i-apply natin. Anong mangyayari? Magbabuckling. That's why we provide stiffeners. So these stiffeners now, sila yung nag-absorb ng shear stresses. That's why we need to design yung mga stiffeners natin in accordance to our NSCP to make sure na hindi mag-fail yung web natin for shearing. Okay. So again, yung stiffeners natin, sila yung nag-absorb ng majority ng shearing stress natin kasi nga hindi kaya ng ating web. That's why we provide some stiffeners. So these transverse stiffeners play a very important role in allowing full ultimate load resistance. So pag sinabi natin of full ultimate load resistance, yung beam natin, for example, it is loaded by a uniformly distributed load, for example. Okay? So sabi natin kanina, for example, this is a I-beam. So pag yung ating web is too thin, anong mangyayari dyan? Magbabakel yung ating web. Magbabakel. Sino pa ngayon or ano pa ngayon yung magre-resist dito sa force na to or sa load na to? Through the stiffeners. That's why it plays a very important role. So in the first place, they increase the buckling resistance of the web, and then it must continue to remain effective after the web buckles to provide an anchorage for the tension field. So yung tension field naman na tinatawag natin is, okay, so for example, kuha tayo dito ng, sige, drawing natin dito. Ito yung ating I-beam. Naka-side view tayo. So, magkakat lang ako. Ikakat ko lang yan, for example. Ito yung kukunin nating example. So, ito yung flange. Tapos, ito yung stiffener, no? Okay, stiffener. Tapos, yung flange. Of course, nandito yung web, di ba? Web. Ito yun, no? Web. Tapos, yung stiffener. Tapos, flange. Okay. So, pag naglagay tayo ng loading, di ba? Naglagay tayo ng loading. So, anong magre-resist sa kanya? Certain shearing force, right? Shearing force. Of course, may partner yan, di ba? So, kung upward yan, of course, meron tayong shearing force downward para magkaroon ng sliding effect. Tapos, there's a complementary part here. Okay? Okay. So, ganyan yung magiging action or distribution of our shearing forces if we have here a stiffener tapos flange. So, ang nangyari dito, nagkakaroon tayo ng resultant force dito sa part na to, which is yung tinatawag nating tension. Kakaroon dyan ng tension. Tapos dito naman, nagkakaroon ng compression. So, there is a compression and then the tension on each side of our section. So for this one, what happens to the web if a stiffener is provided? So nagkakaroon tayo ng tinatawag na panel shear. Ito na yung tinatawag ngayon nating panel shear. If we provide a stiffener to our webs. So yung tension field action na tinatawag natin occurs here, nandito. Nagkakaroon ng tension on the panel shear. So, yung tension field action, ganito yung magiging itsura niya. So, yung tension field action nangyayari sa web natin if we provide yung what we call the transverse stiffeners. Yan. Yan. Ito yung mga stiffeners natin, oh. Yan. Stiffeners. Ito yung web. So, ito yung drawing kong section kanina. Okay, so anong ginawa dito? This is a testing of material. So, nag-load sila sa taas. Yan, may load silang nilagay. Tapos, through the use of stiffeners, nagkaroon ng tinatawag nilang tension field action. So, again, yung tension field action, nangyayari yan sa web natin if we provide yung tinatawag nating transverse stiffeners. So, yung shear stress natin is na-redistribute dito sa may panel shear na tinatawag. Ito yung panel shear. So, yan yung tension field action. And again, yung tension field action, nangyayari lang yan if yung ating web, meron siyang mga stiffeners on the four sides. So, this is our web, diba? Meron siyang stiffeners. Ano yung mga stiffeners niya? Yung nilagay nating plate stiffeners, tapos yung flange. Yung flange, nagsiserve din as stiffeners for our web. So, nagkakaroon lang ng tension field action again if the web is stiffened on its four parts or four sides. So, this is our web. Naka-stiffened siya with the use of the stiffeners, transverse stiffeners, and of course, dito sa top, yung flange, and then also sa bottom, flange. Okay. So, yan yung tinatawag nating tension field action. So, kung dito, actually dalawa yung nagiging, saan na yan? Yan. So, nandito yung tension field action, and then pwede rin magkaroon ng compression dito sa part na to. Kasi compression dito. So, dito sa part is nako-compress, tapos dito naman sa part na to is nakakaroon ng tension. Pero this term is what we call the tension field action. Okay, kung dito yun, nandito yung tension part, tapos nako-compress naman dito sa part na to. Okay, so, yan yung nangyayari sa ating panel shear if we provide certain stiffeners. Okay? So, again, sa NSCP natin, dalawa yung scenario. First one is for the first method presented in section 502 utilize the post-buckling strength or does not utilize the post-buckling strength of the member or the tension field action. And then yung second part, it utilizes the tension field action. So, ibig sabihin dito sa first part na to, yung transverse stiffeners natin, naglalagay tayo ng transverse stiffeners but it doesn't require tension field action. Okay. Dito naman, naglalagay tayo ng stiffeners to provide a tension field action dun sa member natin. Okay? So, later on, iisa-isay natin yan through our examples. Okay? Okay, balik na tayo sa examples. So, proceed tayo sa example number 1. A W410 by 132 beam with a yield stress of 345 megapascal is simply supported over a span of 6.5 meter. The beam supports a uniformly distributed load of 90 kN per meter that includes the self-weight of the beam. The beam is laterally braced at the supports and at the third points of the span. Determine the maximum shear stress and the average shear stress in the beam. Okay. So, ang pinapahanap dito sa ating problem is the maximum shear stress. Okay, yung FB natin. And then the average shear stress in the beam. So, yung FV, sige, lagyan na lang natin ng FV max siguro. FV max. So, we will be using the formula of VQ all over IB. And then, yung FV average, kasi average shear stress, is the V all over the area of the web or V all over A, area of the web, or yung area of the web natin is equal to the depth multiplied by the thickness of the web. Okay, so ito yung makakukunin natin. So, let's illustrate the problem. Meron daw tayong 410 by 132 beam that supports 90 kilonewton meter, including the self-weight. So, simply supported. Okay. Tapos, ang kanyang loading is a uniformly distributed load of 90 kilonewton per meter. Tapos, we have a length of 6.5 meters. The beam is laterally braced at the supports and at the third points of the span. Okay, third points of the span. So, hatiin natin ng tatlo. 1, third points. Ayan. So, nandito yung mga bracing ng ating beam. So, define or determine the maximum shearing stress and then the average shearing stress. Okay. So, ang gagawin muna natin dyan is if you want to draw the shear diagram, wala nyo namang problema. Para makita mo talaga yung location ng maximum shear. But take note of this one, guys. The maximum shear of a beam usually occurs at the support. Yan yung tatandaan nyo. The maximum shear the maximum shear force, not shear stress. The maximum shear force or yung Vmax natin usually occurs at support. Usually occurs. Okay. The maximum shear usually occurs at support. Therefore, kung ano yung reaction dito, ganun din yung magiging Vmax natin. Okay? So, if we take the reaction, let's say at A and B, RA and RB, so if we take the summation of moment at point B is equal to 0, clockwise positive, so magkakaroon tayo ng RA multiplied by 6.5, RA multiplied by 6.5 minus 90 by 6.5, tapos the moment arm 6.5 divided by 2 is equal to 0. Therefore, RA is equal to so RA is equal to 292.5. Okay, 292.5 kilonewton. So since this is a simply supported tapos uniformly distributed load, RA is just equal to RB then, no? 292.5. So pag gusto mong kunin yung shear diagram, wala namang problema. Pwede. So ang gagawin mo dyan, so 292, is there any force? Yes, vertical. Is there any area at the at the load diagram? Yes, we have 90 multiplied by 6.5. So 90 by 6.5 is equal to 585. So 292.5 minus the area. That's why we have negative 292.5. Tapos vertical. So 292. So ito yung magiging shear diagram mo, di ba? So as we can see on the shear diagram, the Vmax occurs at the support. So tama. The Vmax occurs at the support. Okay? So yung Vmax natin dito, the V na gagamitin natin is equal to 292.5 kilonewton. Okay. So drawing natin yung I-beam, since I-beam yung binigay na section. Okay na tayo, meron na tayong value of V, which is 292.5. So proceed naman tayo dun sa Q. So the Q is the statical moment area. Okay, this is the neutral axis. Okay. So ang kukunin natin dyan is the half of this section, yung W410 by 132. So pag hinati natin yan, magiging WT 205 by 66. Okay. So magiging T section yan. Bakit natin kukunin yung T section or yung kalahati ng W410 by 32? Kasi yung Q natin, di ba? Yung Q natin, the formula is equal to A multiplied by Y. So yung Q na kukunin natin is ito. This is the area na tinutukoy. And then yung Y is the distance of the centroid. Distance of the centroid of the shaded area papunta dun sa neutral axis. Yan yung hinahanap natin. Wala tayong problema sa area. Because the area is presented here, merong specific area yung WT 205 by 66 natin. And the area of this one is equal to, by looking at your AISC, the area of WT 205 by 66 is equal to 8450 square millimeter. Okay. Okay, so yan yung area niya. Ano yung kailangan natin? Yung centroid. So what is the location of the centroid? So by looking at your AISC, kung naaalala nyo pa during our design intention, okay, so proceed muna tayo to WT. Okay, WT 410 by 132. Yung kalahat, WT 205 by 566. Okay, ito yan. Ito yung section na yan. Okay, so yung area niya, 8,450 as I have mentioned a while ago. Tapos yung depth 213. Ang kailangan natin dyan is yung Y. This one. Yung Y na to. Ano ba yung meaning ng Y na yan? 43.2. So yung Y na yan, based on the AISC, is is the vertical distance from designated member edge as defined in the AISC to member centroidal axis. So yung Y na yan is ito yun. From the edge daw, designated member edge, papunta sa centroid. Di ba nandito yung centroid niya? Ito yun. Yan yung hinahanap natin na value ng Y, which is equal to 43.2 millimeters. So yung Y na hinahanap natin is ito, 43.2. Okay. Again, hinati natin yung W410 by 132 kasi kailangan nating ilocate yung tinatawag nating Y. Okay? So, iba yung Y na naka-specify dito, iba din yung nasa AISC. According to AISC, ito yung Y. Yan, yung 43.2. Pero sa pagkuha ng statical moment of area, yung Y na tinutukoy dito is the distance. Sige, ibahin na nga natin. Y bar na lang yung gamitin ko dito. Para hindi kayo malito. Y bar is equal to 43.2. So, yung Y na tinutukoy dito is the distance from the centroid papunta dun sa neutral axis. Okay? So, yung Q natin now is equal to area, 8,450, area of the shaded part, multiplied by, so yung Y na gagamitin natin dito is, ilan ba to? That is, what is the depth of our WT? 200, ilan kanina? 213, WT 205 by 66. Yan. So, the depth is equal to 213. The depth is equal to 213. So, this is 213 millimeter. Okay. So, yung Y natin is 213 minus yung Y bar. That is 43.2. Okay. Ito yung Y bar. Y bar is equal to 43.2. Therefore, Q is equal to 8,450 multiplied by 213 minus 43.2. So we have 1434. 810 square or cubic millimeter. Okay, so okay na tayo sa Q. So meron na tayong V, meron ng Q. Next, what is I? So the moment of inertia is the moment of inertia of the section, of course. So the moment of inertia of our section is equal to, okay, so balik na tayo dun sa whole section na, wag na sa WT. Yung WT, ang kailangan lang natin sa kanya is yung distance of the centroid. After nun, balik na tayo sa original section. So yung I na gagamitin natin dito is the I or the moment of inertia of the whole section. So, Ix of 410 by 132, no? Again, Ix yung kukunin natin kasi hindi naman binanggit ng problem kung ano yung magiging axis of bending. Therefore, we are assuming na yung usual na orientation ng beam, which is this one, on the stronger axis, nakaload yung ating 90 kilonewton per meter. Okay? So, based on the AISC, the I, or the moment of inertia of W410 by 132 is equal to 410 by 132. I. So, yung I natin, kailangan natin ng W410 by 132. So, ito yan. So, we have 541 times 10 raised to 6 millimeter raised to 4. 541. Tama ba? Ulit, 541. Yes, 541. So we have 541 times 10 raised to 6 millimeter raised to 4. Okay. And then yung B natin dito is just the thickness of the web. Okay. So wag kayong malilito dito. We are always considering kasi yung web kasi dito nag-occur yung majority of the shear stresses dun sa web natin. So ang i-consider nyo na B here is the thickness of the web. Okay, hindi ito. Kasi dito sa flange, minimal lang naman yung shear stress dyan, di ba? Sa flange. So, ang i-consider natin dito is the thickness of the web. So, B is equal to thickness of the web. And that is equal to, according to AISC, the thickness of the web is equal to 13.3 millimeters. So, we have 13.3 millimeters. Okay, so kompleto na yung mga missing natin or yes, makakailanganin natin in computing for the shear maximum IB. So substitute na natin. So our V is equal to 292.5. Nakakilonewton yan. So, pwede nating i-express into Newton muna para later on maging Newton per square millimeter yung sagot natin. So, times 10 raised to 3 Newton. What is Q? We have 1434,810 cubic millimeter divided by the moment of inertia 541 times 10 raised to 6 millimeter raised to 4 multiplied by the thickness of the web, we have 13.3 millimeters. Okay, so cancel. So our unit is now Newton per square millimeter. Okay, therefore the FV max is equal to so we have 58.33 Newton per square millimeter or 58.33 megapascal. Okay? So ito na ngayon yung FV max or the maximum shearing stress in the beam. And then next, for the average shearing stress, let's say FV average. So we have V all over AW. So V natin is 292.5 times 10 raised to 3 Newton. Area of the web is just the depth multiplied by the thickness of the web. So the depth for 410 by 132, depth is equal to, ito ba yung depth? Yes, is equal to 427. So 427 millimeters. Tapos the thickness of the web is equal to 13.3 millimeter. Okay. Therefore, we have 51.5 Newton per square millimeter or 51.5 megapascal. So, ito naman yung magiging sagot natin for the average shearing stress. Okay? So, yan yung example 1 natin.